All right, folks, from the pristine and sunny shores of the North Saskatchewan River right here in Prince Albert, Saskatchewan, straight over to my next guest, probably, I would imagine, joining me from TO, aka the center of the universe. This is Jasmine, Virginia, of course, one of my favorite people. On the line with Do You Know Jack today, Polarity lead singer. This is a very exciting time for you, I think, Jasmine, isn't it?
Yes, it is, Jack. So good to talk to you. Thanks for having me on again. We have a new EP out and a lot of good music playing, a lot of shows coming up. So, yeah, a lot of great things on the horizon for Polarity.
Yeah, and I think last time we talked, it was maybe, I want to say, back in 2016, and you guys were just about to release a full length, or you had released a full length entitled Action Potential. But now, coming up, you've got another EP, a 3-song EP, I suppose, entitled Trilateral, which I would imagine the title kind of comes from the fact that there's 3 songs.
You got it. You got it. You're putting the pieces together, as usual, which is awesome. So, yeah, it's something of 3 sides, 3 different sides, and the 3 very different songs. So I thought Trilateral would be the perfect name for just a little, 3-song EP with 3 songs we're stoked about, and we've been playing live, so it's nice to get them recorded and be able to give people what they want to hear after a show. It's like, where can we get that? And now we've got it out, so it's going to be great.
So it sounds like then that you guys are kind of in the habit of road testing songs and just kind of seeing if things work out?
Yeah, we're sort of one of those bands that when we commit to, a song that we like it and we play it and, I guess we get people's feedback on it, but we really like to tighten it up before we head into the studio. And of course, one of the best ways to do that is to play it live over and over again and to jam it out. And so that way, when you get into the studio, you know exactly what you're doing and you're not wasting the studio's time or your own time. I know some bands go into the studio and write in the studio, but our method has always been right out of the studio, practice it, play it live, and then head in and know exactly what you want to do.
Now, just, I took a few moments just before we got on the line just to, refresh my memory about Action Potential and just kind of, compare. And it seems to me, just after living with Trilateral here for a few days, that these songs seem a little bit groovier, a little bit leaner, and a little bit meaner. I mean, is there an evolution in the Polarity sound, so to speak?
Yeah, I think we're always doing our best to hone in on making the heaviers heavier, making the trippiers trippier, and adding some groovability to our music. It's one thing to write awesome sort of progressive songs in various timings that, some people really enjoy, but it's another to write, really awesome groove heavy songs that everybody in the audience can just get into and bang their heads to and, sing along to. So, yeah, absolutely. I'd like to think there's an evolution going. We're always having fun writing. And, I think that's what we did with Trilateral is make some of the prettiers really pretty and make some of the heaviers give you that punch in the face.
Sure. Well, I mean, speaking of punch in the face, I mean, am I right that you sound a little bit more pissed off in this one?
That's interesting. I like that. I haven't heard that yet, but absolutely on Black Sheep, there's definitely some more aggression coming out there and just sort of my own disenchantment with how things are going or, I guess where I am in my life, it's fun to be able to just like get that out and lay it all out in the studio and use that as a cathartic, means to heal and hopefully have others be able to find healing in it as well. So.
Well, I mean, I guess that's an interesting statement. I mean, what are you angry about?
Well, I guess I don't want to necessarily say angry, but I guess just disenchanted. You get disenchanted with things, as you've sort of grown up and you're sort of told the world is one way and the music industry is one way. And then as we evolve, like specifically sort of Black Sheep speaks to many different things. We've always considered ourselves the Black Sheep of the Toronto music scene. We're not, necessarily quote unquote metal music, but, what we would define ourselves as alternative, Toronto defines, a band like Tokyo Police Club or ER Kells as alternative, which are very different than like our music. Yeah. So sometimes the promoters won't put us on the lighter shows because we're too heavy or, we'll want to hop on a metal bill, but we're not metal enough. So I think there's, sort of a bit of disenchantment in regards to, thinking that your city is going to support you when it's really hard to break into, a bigger music scene that has some establishment. Luckily, now we built a name for ourselves. We have, a good decade of being a band under our belt, and we're getting a great fan base, and we have the bigger venues on board, and we're getting on the better shows. So, I mean, thank goodness that that's all sort of rounding out. But yeah, I think just disenchantment with general life, and sometimes when your eyes and your ears are open, you question things that are being said all around you, and you can think for yourself and form your own opinions. And sometimes people don't have the ability to listen anymore. We just go right on the attack, and and I think that that's something that I often speak to our audiences about, is like, be an intelligent person. You have to have an open mind and be able to engage in dialogue that will open everybody's perspective.
It's that there was a lot to unpack in what you said there, but I mean, just going back to what you said at the first, I mean, I think, I mean, you're right, maybe that the perception of the Toronto music scene is maybe not even really metal at all, but I'm sure there is a bit of a scene there, right?
Oh, definitely. There is, which is awesome. And we are lucky again to have built great relationships with some great bands, and we're building better relationships with some great promoters. But oftentimes, some bands from smaller areas will say, "Oh, it's so great that you're able to start in Toronto." And I say, it's actually, I personally think it's better to sort of be a smaller fish in a smaller sea, because then you can really build a great fan base. People are so happy when we go out and we play the rural towns, in Canada.
Yeah.
People show up and they're so stoked, and they buy your merch, and they are just so pumped that you're there to play. Whereas sometimes Toronto can be like a little too cool. Like they're just a little too cool to care. But again, it's just, you got to grind it out. You got to find your audience. You got to be authentic to yourself and to the people around you.
Sure.
And the venues do start filling up, and we're so lucky that is happening within our city. And we are still proud to be from Toronto. It's a beautiful city. It's a great city.
Yeah.
More importantly, I think we're proud to be a Canadian band, because there's an amazing Canadian music scene, and a lot of great people in it, a lot of great bands. So.
Well, now if you ask a lot of major touring acts from abroad, they always talk about how Canada is a good country for metal, and how they always embrace them when they come in. I mean, I guess my curiosity would be, from that local standpoint now, maybe outside of TO. I mean, do you as a Canadian band experience that same warmth and acceptance as maybe, an internationally renowned band like Overkill might?
I honestly think that we do, and we're so lucky, because when the metal promoters do put us on metal shows, the metal audiences are so beautiful to us. They love us. We just had a chance to open up for The Agonist in Toronto.
Right.
And
yeah.
I mean, it was an amazing show, and the bands were so gracious to us, and we had a packed room there right at the beginning of the show. And people's ears are perked, and I like to think we're bringing something different to the scene. So if you do love heavy music, we're bringing something there. Of course, it's not all screaming, but
yeah.
But there definitely are those heavier riffs, and we have a lot of luck and some amazing fans in Quebec too. Quebec is really known for an amazing heavy music scene, and the French love heavy music. They love going out and having a great time. We're playing a couple of festivals there this summer, and we love going out to Quebec and doing that. And we look forward to getting out to the West. We haven't quite had the opportunity to get out West, but I mean, we are definitely paying attention to our social media and all of our fans that are saying, come out to Edmonton, come out to Calgary.
Yeah.
And we do want to get there as soon as possible, but we just gotta wait for the perfect moment for us to do that and get on the right tour, and we can't wait for the first opportunity to come so we can.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was going to be something that I was going to say too, is, I mean, you guys have to come out to Saskatoon. It would be amazing to see you.
Yeah, thank you. We can't wait to get out there. It's not because we don't want to. It's just because, bands burn out. Canada's a massive land to get to get through, and it's a big touring expense. So we're waiting to make sure that we get on the right tour with the right bands, and get to the right venues, and then of course let people know that we're coming. And it'll be great when we get there. I'm sure it'll happen sooner than later.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, all this aside, June 5th at the Horseshoe Tavern, I mean, there's some, a TO acceptance there.
Oh, big time. We're so lucky the Horseshoe, loves us, and we got Lee's Palace, and we got some other big venues under our belt, and we're lucky the promoters like us and see that we're doing good things. For that show in particular, we're supporting one of our good friends' bands called Cozen as they release their album, and it's going to be a great night. We're so stoked, and yeah, tons of great shows coming up in the summer. So if you're in and around the GTA and Quebec, definitely keep an eye out because we are playing all over Ontario and Quebec throughout June and July and August.
Well, now I think you're in Hamilton May 31st when Trilateral officially drops. So, I mean, is that sort of going to be the official or unofficial album release there?
You know, I think it's going to be the unofficial album release. Absolutely. We're going to be stoked to have it on tables and for, you know, everybody to listen to. It's going to be a great show as well. A lot of great bands on that bill. And maybe we'll do an official release, but we just booked up as many shows as we could, and we didn't really think about which one was going to be the official album release. So yeah, maybe they're all going to be unofficial album release shows.
The Trilateral unofficial album release tour.
Exactly.
2019.
Yeah, that's how we do things.
For sure. You know, just thinking about these three songs, I mean, we've sort of been talking a lot about, you know, different things over the last couple of minutes, but I mean, let's zero in on the tracks a little bit. Of course, you know, I mentioned off the top May 31st is a release date. I mean, production wise now, I mean, did you go with the same production and mixing team that you went with Action Potential? I mean, where'd you go to record this and so on and so forth?
So this was recorded out of a studio called Jukasa, which is a beautiful studio, and we work with producer Darren Magarowski and Jill Zimmerman as the engineer at Jukasa. Amazing studio, amazing people. We love Darren, we love Jill. We're definitely so happy we went there. They do big bands like Alexis, On Fire, Protest the Hero, 3 Days Grace. And we're just lucky enough that it's sort of an hour outside of where we live, so we were able to make that happen for ourselves. And we plan on going back, but it's a big, beautiful studio, and we just felt like absolute rock stars being able to enjoy recording there, and we had the best experience. We recommend it to everybody.
Yeah.
Of course, we're lucky that we have, you know, Jake Botchell is a friend of ours and somebody that sort of always puts his wing over our projects because he was one of the people we worked on Action Potential with, along with Chris Craigley and some others at various studios. But, yeah, this time we decided to do something different, spread our wings a little bit further, get in the industry, you know, deeper with other producers, and we're so glad that we did. So, yeah, highly recommend Jukasa and Darren and Jill.
Well, now there's an interesting point because, I mean, the change in production, I mean, like, how much did they have to do with the actual fleshing out of some of these songs? Because I know oftentimes bands will you know, oftentimes go in with, you know, more meatier stuff, and sometimes producers will, you know, cut the fat and so on and so forth. So I'm just wondering if this sort of more aggressive, direct and straightforward sound is the result of working with those guys.
To be honest with you, that's a great question. And, you know, when bands talk about producers and production, it really does mean something different to every single band. Polarities, we've always written our own songs. You know, we've really never had anybody mold or shape our sound in a big way. So we came into Jukasa, the songs didn't get changed. You know, they are exactly sort of as we had written them.
Right.
But, you know, Darren did everything from pre-production, helping us with our tempo map, to mixing, you know, all three of the tracks, to recording them, and of course adding in some of the really cool sort of sound effects that you hear in the background, some of the echoes, some of the, you know, the guitar slides that weren't necessarily in there, really making the tracks, I think, absolutely adding those beefier layers and, you know, making them sound that next level. And we've had a lot of great feedback, people saying, you know, it's the best we've ever sounded. So we're really happy with how the production turned out, and we are always open to having writers. We were actually just with Darren last night and talking about it and saying, you know, we'd love to have somebody come in and help us write. That would be an interesting thing for our band because we've always just fleshed it out, the five of us in our jam room.
Sure.
You know? So
yeah.
Something for the future, but in the meantime, we were just ready with these three songs, and they liked them. They really didn't have any major qualms about them, and we just went ahead and pressed record, so it was awesome.
Now, what about your vocal approach? Because it does, the actual timbre of your voice seems a little bit different than, I mean, I know there's a definite Jasmine sound that I think, you know, hardcore fans of Polarity have come to expect and cherish, but I mean, your approach and even the distinct timbre of your voice seems a little different to me, just having listened to Trilateral a few times and compared it to Action Potential.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, again, hopefully any, you know, vocalist or instrumentalist is always evolving. You know, you always want to be practicing. You always want to be Are you still there, Jack?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, perfect. You always want to be testing out new techniques, and I think definitely recording at Jukasa, through the beautiful microphones that they have in studio was amazing. On Action Potential, we were experimenting with a bunch of different microphones. We ended up recording some of it, in our basement and doing some other things. So of course, that always affects, how the vocals sound. We're lucky enough to work with Grammy-winning producer and Juno-winning producer Joe Carvalho, who does all the mastering for our stuff, and he's huge on the vocals, and he always EQs the vocals so beautifully. So specifically this time, he had the luxury of, sort of getting the stems, and he always knows how to tweak up the vocals to sound great. But sort of again, going back to making the prettiers prettier and making the heaviers a little bit grittier. That was sort of my approach, is that I really wanted those beautiful cleans to sound intimate and to sound fragile and delicate and beautiful, and then have those harder aggressive parts really come from a place within myself that's mustering up something I've never expressed sort of on recording before. So hopefully that came across.
Well, this guy here on the other end of the line definitely thinks it did, for sure, if that means anything.
Thank you so much. It means everything. Yeah.
So listen, I mean, just before I let you go here, I mean, here's a maybe a bit of a deep / open-ended question, but seeing how you do a lot of visual art too, I mean, why do you do what you do in terms of singing and being in a band, and how does your own personal visual art approach your affect your or influence your singing and your songwriting and your approach to the musical art form?
Oh, that's a great question, Doug. Honestly, I think the music actually influenced the visual art, because, one of the main messages of Polarity has always been, finding your light through your darkest times, following your dreams, following the callings of your soul. And, when you come to live shows, that's what I'm always talking to our audiences about in between our songs, because we need that motivation. We're told that we have to work this Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 job. We have to make this much money, and then, we're going to retire, and then we're going to die. And that's just the way our lives are going to go. But I think, honestly, the visual art came from a lucid dream. So, I always say, like, of course, me being the one, trying to encourage people to follow their dreams, sure enough, I have this crazy lucid dream that tells me to start making, like, light reflective art on canvas. I've never been a visual artist, but I believe in following callings, and I did. And then, boom, sure enough, here we are a few years later, and I've displayed in galleries across Toronto. And, the art world, has been very kind to me and really enjoying what I'm doing. And I'm surprising myself with even, the stuff that I'm creating. And, the music complements it nicely, because I'm definitely a person of polarity, hence why our band is also called Polarity.
Right.
I love to be out engaging with audiences. I love to be connecting one-on-one with people, but that's a very extroverted thing. And then sort of the visual art is a very introverted thing, where you're kind of in your own studio, in your own space, and just sort of having your quiet time creating. So 2 different forms of creation and 2 different mediums. And yeah, I think the majority, for me, again, the message of my life is to always follow your dreams and follow the callings of your soul. So, you can't just talk the talk, you got to walk it as well. So
Indeed.
Doing my best to keep my hustle up.
Words of the wise. Well, listen, Jasmine, it's been awesome chatting with you today. I'll just throw out the the album EP is Trilateral, releases May 31st. Where's the best place to pick up a copy of this phenomenal piece of work by you guys? Would it be Bandcamp that would make you most money, or?
Bandcamp, we are across all mediums. It's going to be iTunes. It's going to be, we'll be on Spotify, and all of. I think on our website you'll be able to grab a copy, and then of course if you're in and around the GTA, we're going to have hard press copies at our merch. So yeah, it'll be out across all the mediums, whatever works for our fans. We always say music is sort of out there to be listened to now, and yeah, I mean, if you can afford to grab a T-shirt while you're at it, or buy a poster, we're always happy to ship out as well. So.
For sure. And then, of course, your visual art. I mean, is there a place where fans and interested folks can check that out as well?
Yeah, thank you so much, Jack. That's jasminevirginia.ca. So just my name, jasminevirginia.ca, and all my art's up there. And again, I'm happy to ship out, and I always say art for any budget. So if you have, $50, we can make you a beautiful little piece. And if you want a stunning piece for your living room, I'm always happy to talk details. So
Right on, Jasmine. Well, this is Jasmine Virginia of the phenomenal band Polarity on the line here with Do You Know Jack today. It's always a pleasure just chatting with you about your art and your music and all things in between. So I really appreciate you taking the time today, Jasmine. Thank you so much.
beautiful. Thank you so much, Jack. Thanks for all that you do for promoting music. Keep up your own great work. As we'll look forward to chatting with you on the next musical release.
Right on. All right. You have a good day.
Awesome. Thank you. You too. Take care.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye.